And 167 articles published at national and international levels related to the topics on museums, exhibition strategies, new museology, display techniques of artifacts, etc. He has written a book on museums of India. He has served as a Vice President of Museums Association of India for 4 years and elected twice on Executive Board of ICOM India. Sir, welcome.
Thank you for the intro. Respected dignitaries and dear friends, today is a very good occasion for the workshop we have gathered here in Raja Ravi Verma studio, and it is heartening to note that Museovision and IXNA's Vadodara Regional Center are collaborating with each other for this venture. I welcome Pankaj Kumar Sharmaji, who is the Director of Museum and Archaeology, Government of Gujarat, who is going to preside over the workshop. And among the 3 panel speakers, Shiv Prasad Khanedji, he also very much wanted to remain present on here, but since he is suffering from flu, he has to deliver his lecture online from Mumbai. I welcome the other 2 panel speakers, one from Vadnagar excavation site, Ajitabji, and Dr. N.R. Shah from Baroda. And regarding the theme of the workshop, in our invitation brochure also, we have on one page mentioned the concept note. So I hope everyone has gone through it, so I don't think it is necessary to repeat it here. I welcome the audience also here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our first panel speaker for the day is Shri Shiv Prasad Khandeji, who will be joining us over Google Meet. Shri Khandeji is a retired science museum professional with over 37 years of experience. He has worked with the National Council of Science Museums as a science museum curator for over 20 years and as a science museum director for 15 years, heading 3 national level science museums and science centers, the director and National Science Center, New Delhi, the director, Nehru Science Center, Mumbai, and the director, Vishveshwaraya Industrial and Technological Museum, Bangalore. He has also served as the director of the National Gallery of Modern Art, Bangalore, and NGMA, Mumbai. I welcome you, sir.
क्या हो रहा है?
वहाँ कॉल करके पूछ रही है, बोल नहीं रहे हैं।
सर श्री प्रसाद सर को फ़ोन करके बोले कि वो लोग बोल रहे कि नहीं बोल रहे?
आइडिया नहीं है।
Sir, I welcome you, and I think we can start. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me? You're audible, sir. There's a lot of noise in the background. Anyway, can I share my screen? Okay. Just see if it is. Can you see my screen? It's visible, sir. Okay, can you see the full screen now? It's not on full screen, sir. Okay, it's visible, isn't it? Can you see the next slide? No, it's not moving, sir. Not the Facebook and YouTube live, sir, actually. Okay. There's some issue going on with that. Okay. Till the technology issue is solved, there's too much noise. I'm sorry. Too much noise. Yes, sir. I think they're trying to fix that. Because it will be impossible for me to, say, just speak at all. Just bounce it back on give us 5 minutes. They're trying to solve that technical issue. Okay. Good afternoon. I think, sorry, it's not just not possible. Hello? There is the problem same for everyone or only for me? still have this vital problem. That's what had made me difficult for me to accept this. But then somehow, when Nandanji insisted, that's why I'm here. At the outset, let me say that the topic is pretty interesting. New horizon in heritage and museum experience. Particularly in the context of what all the museums and the hospitality industry, including tourism, heritage, they have experienced for the past 2 years or so. During the COVID times, everything had to shut down, and you can imagine the kind of a problem one had to pass through. Having said that, we are done. I think the pandemic is behind us now, and perhaps the museums have started in full swing. And here in Mumbai, I know for sure that the visitors to the museums has taken the pre-pandemic level. It's gone to the, sometimes in fact it has exceeded the pre-pandemic level. So what I will do is I will structure the talk in such a way that I won't say that the new horizon that we are talking about is only in terms of the digital technology that has crept in, or what we call as the industrial revolution 4.0, in which we have the internet, 3D printing, and all the other applications like augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. We have the chat GPT, which is available for each one of us to use the artificial intelligence and the intelligence of the machine to make this machine a servant for us to produce some wonderful documents, letters, and such things. This new horizons have been coming our way in every century. Like for example, the way, if you compare the evolution, human evolution, all along the human has to adapt to the new changes. In a similar way, whether it is heritage or the museums have been adapting to the new changes. So it has been in the present context. But the pace at which the present context the museums have to adapt to the new horizons has been at a very much faster rate. So I will begin with this. Can you see my slide? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can see the next slide.
No, sir. Only the first slide is showing.
Oh, I'm sorry, then I don't know, maybe something's wrong. I mean, I'll speak now because there's no use of wasting time. I will put it this way, the evolution of museums can be compared to the evolution of human beings or the evolution in itself. Over time, it's been a fascinating journey for the museums that reflects changes in society, technology, and our own understanding of culture, history, and the natural world. Museums have transformed from relatively simple collections of artifacts to dynamic institutions that engage, educate, and inspire visitors in diverse ways. There have been times when there has been a paradigm shift in museum evolution. The way we have paradigm shifts in the evolution itself, there have been paradigm shifts in museum evolution. And one such evolution has arrived now with the current era of what I call as the Industrial Revolution 4.0. This has been accentuated during the COVID-19 period. This was a time when we had to have this social distancing. The museums had to be shut down. So all this thing has forced us to adapt at a much faster rate to the new horizon. What we call as a horizon is something which it was there. It is just that we started adapting it at a much faster rate. But then if you really go back in history, there has always been new horizons for the museum history. I think the history of the museum in itself goes back to the 16th to 17th century. The earliest precursors to what we call as the modern museums were nothing but what was considered as cabinets of curiosity. These were majorly the private collections of unusual and exotic objects, often assembled by wealthy individuals, scholars, and such other characters. This, if you approach European and places, you find this what we call as a cabinet of curiosities, are the earliest the museums. then, the actual public museums, which we now consider as museums, came up in the 18th and 19th centuries, and two of these museums are exceptional. One of them is the British Museum, which started in 1753, and of course the Louvre, which started in 1793. And how did they come up? As societies became more interested in science, history, and culture, public museums began to emerge from what was earlier called as cabinet of curiosities. These institutions were established to make collections accessible to a broader audience rather than confining it to a very few, a select audience, or maybe the elite audience. Of course, I told you the first two public museums can be considered as British Museum and the Louvre. But in India, the first museum was the Indian Museum, started in 1814. Now, I have served my 35 years of service in the Science Museum, so I will say a bit about the Science Museum as well. The first Science Museum came up in 1959, which was the Birla Industrial and Technological Museum. But then there was another museum which came up in Pilani, and there was another one which came up in the premises of the National Physical Laboratories somewhere around that time, 1956 to 57, 58. So this is as far as the museum movement is concerned, and there have always been evolution in that. But then suddenly what happens is COVID-19 came in, and then we had to adapt. In a similar way, how did the museums adapt to a sudden rapid change, particularly the British Museum? I mean, in British, a lot of museums came up. I don't know how many of you have heard this term as the Great Exhibition or the Crystal Palace Exhibition. Since most of you are from the museum side, I'm sure you have heard about this. The Industrial Revolution came in primarily because, we had the steam power, the muscles power which the man did not have. It had to go to the horses and such other animals. There was another technological revolution which came in, which was the steam power or the steam engine. Once the steam engine came in, the power of the steam engine or the machines that were driven by steam power much higher than the animals which were being then used. For example, horses, oxes, and such things. The steam engine suddenly replaced them. The evolution of the steam engine and what is called the first industrial revolution brought about a transformation change in the production of products, particularly the industrial products. And each of them had to vie with each other in terms of artistic elegance. That is how, as an outcome of that, and to create awareness of these products, which were mostly artistic in nature, the first exhibition came up in 1851 in a place called Crystal Palace. It was called the Crystal Palace Exhibition in London. This went on for about 6 to 8 months, and it was one of the most successful exhibitions, visited by millions of people. You can also see in the exhibition, unfortunately you're not able to see my slide, we also had an India pavilion in the Crystal Palace Exhibition. Most of the collections and artistic elegant works of Indian museums, they became a part of this India pavilion at the Crystal Palace Exhibition. When the exhibition ended, what should they do with the collections which were all there, which were displayed in the exhibition? Some of them, of course, some of the exhibitors took it back, but some of them agreed to retain it, keep them with the organizers. So they decided that whatever collections were there, with these collections, 3 important museums came up in London. They are all called as the Kensington Museum. One is the Natural History Museum. The best of collections of the natural history are there in the Natural History Museum in London. Then we have the London Science Museum. I love this museum. And most of the scientific objects and antique objects, all those things went to the London Science Museum. Then there were art and such other things. Majorly, what was exhibited in the India Pavilion, they all went to Victoria and Albert Museum. If you really look at the collection of these 3 things, they were an outcome or primarily sourced from the spin-off or from the Crystal Palace Exhibition. So that was a new horizon for them, for the British during the museum movement, sometime in the middle of the 19th century. So people, I mean, the museums and heritage and such other people have always awaited new horizon and made best use of that. That was the same was the case with the Paris also. In Paris, you see, all of us see the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower was actually created as a gateway, as an entrance to one of the best exhibition, which was known as the Industrial Exhibition in Paris, which happened in 1889. The success of 1851 Crystal Palace exhibition had rubbed on other European countries, and similarly all those wonderful artistic, elegant materials, engineering materials, such other natural history collections, they all from this exhibition also serve as objects to the museums which came up in Paris. So the reason I'm trying to highlight this is that what we are now calling as a new horizon because of the technology, that has been the case all along, including in the 19th century. Same thing happened in Germany as well. Dosch Museum, for example. Dosch's museum I'm particularly impressed because the Indian museum, science museum movement was influenced by the Dosch Museum. There too, the Dosch Museum, most of the collections of the Dosch Museum comes from the industrial exhibition which was held in Germany. So, these things influenced the Indian Science Museum movement, and the one who I call as a visionary for Indian Science Museum movement was Bidhan Chandra Ray, the first, the Chief Minister of West Bengal. He had gone and seen the Dosch Museum, he had seen the London Science Museum. He came back to India and then talked to the Prime Minister and said, we must have similar science museum in India. Then Pandit Nehru spoke to Birlas, and the rest is history. Now, the Birlas gave the land of the Birla Industrial Technology Museum, that particular land, we found the Gurusarai Road, and the first museum was inaugurated in 1959. Afterwards, initially we were under CSIR. After 6 years, the second museum was inaugurated in Bangalore in 1965. Now a new horizon comes here. They also wanted to start a museum in Bombay. It was called as the Mafattal Industrial and Technological Museum. Because the concept was to start a industrial and technological museum, but then things changed. There was a change in the government, there was a change in some kind of a policy. The government, they wanted to have something very quickly. CSIR did not want the science museum. All these things, this was a completely new horizon for the management of the science museum. So they decided, what should we do? Because the science museum, starting the science museum in Bombay is taking time. So they decided to start what is known as a science park. It was a new concept. The best part of the science park was the beautiful locomotives which they collected. These locomotives were all put in the science park, and the greenery was developed, and science-based objects like, we have the swings. Here in this case, it will be a swings based on scientific principles, maybe like kind of a pendulum and such other things. So this was a new concept which was liked by the people. Then, of course, subsequently we had completely new thinking into the science museum, and what came up is a Nehru Science Center, which was based on a concept which came up from the exploratorium. The Frank Oppenheimer is the father of exploratorium. He is the brother of Richard Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project scientist. So I will not go into that because this the lecture is not about that. But then what happened is, this particular the science park, and we had all these wonderful antique locomotives which were in our collection. They were there in the park from around 1969, 70 onwards. And because the Mumbai weather is, high amount of humidity is there in Mumbai, there is a dust, so the corrosion happens at a very, very fast rate. And all the objects of the antiquity locomotives which were displayed, they were all getting rusted. Fortunately for us, the COVID lockdown shut down everything. In fact, in our case, it was that much more severe because a part of our museum, the temporary exhibition space, was converted into what is called that a mega COVID zone or something like that. So that ensure that nobody, no visitors, no one can come into the campus. So we use this opportunity, which a challenge, we took it as an opportunity and then converted it into trying to make an attempt to restore. You can see these two locomotives. One of these locomotives is the electric locomotive. It has got its wonderful history. I will talk about that. Unfortunately, you are not able to see it, the screen. This engine was completely rusted. It was so badly damaged that after we got the whole thing restored. You can see the difference between what was there the earlier and post the conservation or the restoration of those things. Remarkable change that happened is that even today, when the museum is now open, the number of visitors who are coming to see the museum, most of them come for seeing these beautiful antiquity locomotives like the electric locomotive, steam locomotive and such other things. The electric locomotive has got its own significance because the engine that we have, it was the first engine that drove the what you call the Deccan Queen Express, which is to travel from Pune to Mumbai, and they were also driven. I mean, in fact, way back in 1930, 1925 was the electric locomotive started in India, and in the one what we have is the 1930 version of it. So, such other beautiful stories are there surrounding this locomotive restoration. We use this opportunity of a COVID challenge to not only restore these locomotives, but also do a lot of research on them and publish this material. And now there is a heritage walk centering around each of these historical objects, which will connect with the Mumbaikars very, very well. In fact, there is another object that we had, that was the HF-24 Marut aircraft, and some of you must have seen it in other places as well. One such HF-24 Marut aircraft we had in our collection, which was also very badly damaged. We restored that, and the beauty of this aircraft is that this is the first aircraft to be manufactured in the entire Asia. But unfortunately, no one is aware of that. HAL is the place where this was manufactured, then we had the support of Indian Institute of Science and such other thing, and this also took part in the 1971 war. So all this the research and the restoration that went into this helped in us taking these objects very close to the visitors and making them a part of this. It helped us in storytelling. I wish you had the opportunity to see these images, but I'm sorry that you're not able to see this. In fact, my other presentation will be that much more boring for you because I had some wonderful visuals and video which I wanted to show you that we used on in developing what is called as a virtual experiential museum in Ajanta. This project was developed by IIT Bombay, but then it was the Nehru Science Center who were the prime mover of this exhibition. There is another spin-off benefit that we had. In the Nehru Science Center Mumbai collection, there was one generator, 8 megawatt generator. But not much was known about this. But then in the process of doing this during the COVID-19 times, we did a lot of research, and then it was realized that it was part of one of the generators which came from Khopoli that belonged to the Tatas. Way back in 1915, the first, I would say the large scale 40 megawatt electric power was set up in Khopoli, and Mumbai from that day, continuously, it has remained almost fully 24/7 electricity is available. Although this was the dream of, Jamshedji Tata, who wanted to start this in the 19th century itself, to have a clean energy. So all these things happened. We did a research on this, and now what we are doing is Khopoli, the Tata Hydroelectric Power itself, has become a heritage walk, and we are trying to convert that into, can we make it into a IEEE milestone? The way we have archaeological monuments taking the status of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, in technology also you have what is known as a IEEE milestone. For example, in Calcutta, Indian Association of Cultivation of Science, where C.V. Raman did his research, the Nobel Prize winning research on Raman effect, that is considered as IEEE milestone. Similarly, we have the Jagdish Chandra Bose and his the wireless communication coherer, and also there is something known as the crescograph, that an instrument which he used to show that even the plants respond to stimulus, the way we humans respond to stimulus or stress or trauma or such things. So that also has become an IEEE milestone. And very close to the Mumbai zone, in Pune, we have the Giant Mid-Radio Telescope, GMRT. That is also another IEEE milestone. In this COVID period, the amount of work that we did, we are trying to use this to make the Tata Hydroelectric Power into a IEEE milestone. So these are the new things that we have done. Unfortunately, the next set of the presentation is purely visual in nature, but since the technology has failed, I will not be able to show this thing, but I will speak about this. What is the power of digital technology? It is now inextricably linked to our everyday lives. There is no way that we can think of living a life without digital technology. The Aadhaar-based, digital transaction that we do, whether it is banking, anything and everything is possible only using digital technology. And this digital technology and the common architecture for digital information and communication exchange, when it has been wedded to the internet and broadband, it has opened up unprecedented benefits for humankind, which we are witnessing. When everything is benefited by this technology, how can heritage and museums be behind? That has happened to the museums as well. I'll give you some statistics. This was way back in 2015. In just about a day, 175 billion smartphone users will not be able to use the phone if in case we don't have internet. Now, this is a kind of a data that was available. The digital technology, the power of digital technology was so immense. The museums, we started using it, but very slowly. The power of this technology was used more into the commerce and science and such other things, but the COVID helped us to adapt ourselves. We found this this technology as a new horizon, compulsively because of the COVID lockdown and social distancing and such other things. Yes, Anand. Yeah, I'll end this because, yeah. So all this thing has been done is that, we have used this in NCSM, we have used it for making virtual reality exhibits, augmented reality, mixed reality, and based on this, we have done virtual experiential museum in Ajanta. Similarly, there is one virtual experiential museum that has come up in Varanasi. And so also case with, I'm sure some of you have seen the Prime Minister Museum, you will realize that a lot of these digital technology based things are all used in that. So since there is no time, Mr. Nandanji has called me also, it's not my mistake because I joined late because nobody allowed me to join in. And I wish I had shown you those the visuals. You would have experienced what augmented reality or what you call as virtual reality and how we have used in most of the museums, be it the National Museum or in other cases also. We have used them not only for the science centers, we have also used them in other museums which we have taken up on turnkey basis. One such exhibition which we had developed was called as Machine to Think in 2018. That showed all these technologies at a glance. Since I don't have time, now I am able to show this thing with this, and since the time has ended, I'd like to thank the organizers for giving this opportunity. And unfortunately, due to technology, you were not able to see what I wanted to show you, how these technologies can be used in the museum for made for giving visitors an experiential kind of a learning. Thank you.
Over to our next panel speaker, Abhijit S. Ambekar sir, who is a PhD and serves as a superintending archaeologist in Archaeological Survey of India, Excavation Branch, Baroda. He completed his PhD.
I can't listen, I can't hear anything.
He completed his PhD in 2013 on the topic Portuguese artillery in India and Goa. He has been associated with more than 10 archaeological excavations and several survey works. He has published 20 research articles and have completed 2 excavation reports. At present, he is working on the Vadnagar excavation project with facilitating the experimental museum at Vadnagar. Sir, I welcome you.
नमस्कार, आदरणीय नंदन शास्त्री जी, इन्होंने जो एक इनवाइट किया है मुझे, थैंक यू वेरी मच. नाउ वी हैव heard about virtual museum and reality museum, so many things from predecessors. Nowadays, okay, we can see any museum where we can have a display of many artifacts, objects, this one. But here in Vadnagar, we are coming up with new kind of museum. Its name is experiential museum. Basically, ये जो experiential जो thought आया है museum का, is developed by the then secretary Arun Goyal and our then DG Usha Sharma ma'am. कि why not we come up with some such kind of new museum where people will have access within the excavated area. क्योंकि जितने भी म्यूजियम आप देखिए बेसिकली एक्सकेवेशन या सर्वे के थ्रू जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट्स आए हैं वो डिस्प्ले किए जाते हैं एक सिस्टमेटिक मैनर में. बट हियर व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू हैव एक्सपीरियंस अबाउट द एक्सकेवेशन साइट, its finding, its cultural period, because cultural period is very important. If you have timetable, so you can say that कि भाई this sculpture objects belong to this cultural period, and what are the development, evolution within the object also we have to study. So this kind of new concept with the experiential museum, we come up with Vadnagar excavation here now. Next please. Now Vadnagar, it's a densely populated area. It's within the fortified, covering around we can say 1 kilometer by 700 or 800 meter. But the deposit is so thick here. If any archaeological mound, if you see, you will get the deposit around 50-60 centimeter to 8 meter maximum, yeah, 10 to 12 meter. But here cultural deposit is up to 25 meter. The core area will get 25 meter. In peripheral area around 22 meter, 20 meter, the cultural deposit is there. To excavate such in that area having the thick cultural deposit, the excavation is very tough task for us because we need larger area for excavation. Here is very difficult to get an area, and we need such potential area where we have to take up the excavation trenches. Now in this slide we can see one trench here that is across the fortification wall, because जब कोई भी फोर्टिफिकेशन के स्टेजेस को अगर आप आइडेंटिफाई कर लेते हैं, then you can correlate with the what is a structural development within the fortified city. So the location is very important. So the findings whatever we are getting here, that is going to reflect in upcoming experiential museum that I am going to explain here about the finding what we are going to see in the next couple of months. Yeah, in I think after January or February, after that. Next please. नहीं आप पूरा कंप्लीट ओपन कर दीजिए ना उसको. हाँ. Vadnagar is known since we can say from Puranas also there is a mention about the Vadnagar with the different names, all the things. The first archaeological finding reported by S.R. Rao in 1952 and subsequently excavation taken up by MS University Baroda under the director under the R.N. Mehta Sahab. So now due to the we can say the space constraint or because of the thick deposition, उनका जो खुदाई का जो area रहा है, that is outside the fortification, and their main purpose of the excavation was to find the horizon of red polish ware, जिसे कभी कभी हम लोग मेडिटेरियन ओरिजिन भी कहा जाता था उस समय. तो उसका एक हॉराइजन उनको देखना था कि किस कल्चरल पीरियड को बिलोंग करता है. उसके तहत 1953 में खुदाई हुआ है. आफ्टर दैट 1992 बोधिसत्व का इमेज चांस डिस्कवरी में हमें वहां मिला है. एंड देन 2006 to 12 स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, गुजरात गवर्नमेंट, they have taken up the large scale excavation within different localities, and Archaeological Survey of India come into the picture from 2014 onward. There are two phases of our excavation. And a first phase of the excavation up to 2019, that is for the study of the cultural material and Buddhist connections and other objectives. But 2019 onward, we come up with some specific purpose only of the excavation. Next please. Now we can have a look of different localities of our excavation trenches within the core area, that is within the fortification, and outside the fortification where we can see some dots there. Next please. Now I talk about the to establish the cultural index, because any multicultural site is very, very useful to formulate cultural index, and that is first and foremost our task to formulate a cultural index. That was our main purpose of the excavation that time. Then Buddhist connection, as mentioned the travel record of the Hwensung who visited Vadnagar, he identified as Anandapur, he said as Anandapur, and one of the major output of the excavation, identifying the shell manufacturing center. We know about the shell manufacturing process right from Harappan, but the Vadnagar has minimized that gap between Harappa and early historical period, and they have followed the same technology for preparing, manufacturing the shell bangle and other shell objects. Next please. Now in cultural sequence, we have defined 7 cultural period. The first cultural period, that was our pre-rampart, and there was no defense that time, and we have given the date to pre-2nd century BC, because that time we couldn't reach to the virgin soil. We were not aware when the first settlers come up there. So we have given that date based on our AMS. Pre-2nd century BC, we could stretch that time in early initial stages up to 5th century BCE. Then second period is a rampart, that is contemporary to Indo-Greek people. That is 2nd century BCE to 1st century CE. And third period is a Kshatrapa, they introduced the fortification there. Then followed by post-Kshatrap, contemporary to Maitrakas, Rashtrakoot, Chaudas. Then Solanki period. Afterwards, Gujarat Sultanate, Delhi Sultanate, Mughal, and last cultural period is a Gaikwad. So this is a continuous cultural occupation right from, that time we were saying, from 5th century BC till present. This was the cultural sequence. Next please. Then structure here. Now fortification, it's very important here to identify the different phases. Now we can see here especially this area. This shows as a rampart, and the first defense structure they introduced around this settlement, that is rampart. We have given the name as a rampart phase. That around 2nd century BC they introduced this rampart, and on the rampart you can have a look of this brick fortification wall come up around 1st century CE during Bhumaka time and Kshatrapa period, and later on there are successive phases of the enlargement of the fortification. Now this layer is very important, this one. This is show about the complete destruction of the site here. Site means the fortification. This layer is very much important. Then we can corroborate with the Kumarpala inscription. We can see in the Arjunbari gate in Vadnagar that speaks about the reconstruction, rebuilding of the fortification. And this phase we have given the name as a Solanki phase, this one. Next please. Now other area of the excavation where the experiential museum is coming up at the northeastern corner of the town. So here also we can see similar kind of fortification arrangement in this area. Now this slide, the rampart is very much clear on the plan. We can see the rampart here. Next please. Again different phases of the fortification wall. Next. Now about the rampart, how to build a rampart now. So now this is our rampart actually. Against the rampart we can see the ditch, that is a moat. अगर मुझे rampart बनाना है, मैं वहीं से मिट्टी डक करूँगा और वहाँ पे डंप करूँगा ताकि एक तरह का हाई राइज मुझे मिले. मोट बनने से मुझे दो बेनिफिट होगा. एक तो सॉइल मुझे बाहर से लाना नहीं है, मुझे हाइट मिलेगा एंड वाटर मैनेजमेंट का पहला इन्वेंशन पहला इंट्रोडक्शन हम लोग कह सकते हैं कि पानी का भी उन्होंने एक तरह का अरेंजमेंट किया है. वी नो अबाउट द गुजरात एंड स्पेशली नॉर्थ गुजरात that come under the semi-arid zone. Around we are getting only 400 to 500 mm rainfall. So water is very much important. If water is there, so we can have a continuity of lifespan. Now here other slides, these photographs, we can have a look fortification right over the rampart here. Next please. All this is going to in the museum. All this we can see at the site when the museum is going to operate. Now, in fortification, I said around the town, they built the fortification rampart only on 3 sides, east, west and south. Northern area, that is a Sarmista, that was a natural protection for them. But that area also they built the fortification for that segment also around 3rd, 4th century CE. When fortification comes, not only for the protection of wealthy, but for the knowledgeable people also. Because these people were called, they were given their services for other kingdom also. This area was very known for the knowledgeable people and for a Nagar Brahmin also. Next please. Now in the section is very much clear if you see. Now here we can see the brick fortification. This is a different color we have mentioned, and beneath that we can have a different kind of cultural material. So that shows that it come up later on. Next please. Now I talk about the evolution and development. Now this is very good feature we are getting here about the development in the bastions. Bastions we can say kind of retention here, keep the vigil from the जो भी लोग एंट्री करना चाहते हैं इंट्रूडर्स है उनके ऊपर हमें ध्यान भी रखना है. तो bastions is very important. दो फंक्शन है, विजिल भी करेंगे और इसका रिटेन भी करेंगे. Now in the bastions we can see here different kind of just next please. I'll explain on the plan then. Now here blue color, red, purple and this brick red. Now here we can see square bastion having an elevation, you see slightly upward tapering. Then again this continue little bit in the bigger size. This is the next phase, that is the post Chhatrapati. Again about the Solanki phase we can have a step pattern bastion, but the last during the Sultanate Mughal period they introduced the semicircular bastion. Everywhere, anywhere if you get to see semicircular bastion, you can say that this is after 13th or 12th century CE onward that structure. So this development we could see through the bastions one after above. We can see that एक नीचे है उसके ऊपर दूसरा एक पैटर्न बना है, थर्ड पैटर्न है, फोर्थ पैटर्न है. ये हम लोग डेवलपमेंट यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं. That is also going to see in the museum. Next please. Then another characteristic feature of the site is a high raised wall. यानी मकानों के ऊपर मकान बनाने से उसकी हाइट रेज होती है. उन्होंने कभी प्लम लाइन को छोड़ा नहीं. अगर एक फैमिली को कोई हाउस बिलोंग करता है उसके सक्सेसर्स जो है उन्होंने उसी के ऊपर उसको मकान का हाइट को रेज किया है. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट वी आर गेटिंग 12 to 13 मीटर हाइट ऑफ द वॉल. एंड नाउ हियर सी नैरो लेन. इसका मतलब डेमोग्राफिक प्रेशर हो रहा है या स्प्लिट हो रहा है फैमिली में, इसीलिए उसके बाजू में भी घर बनाए जा रहे हैं. इसका मतलब टाउन प्लानिंग में चेंज हो रहा है. तो दिस काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर वी आर गेटिंग राइट फ्रॉम फर्स्ट सेंचुरी CE till Solanki era. And anywhere in Vadnagar, if you excavate, you must get this kind of structure while excavating. Next, please. Now, in गुजरात में सारे लोग देखिए कि जो मकान होते हैं उसके बाहर छोटे से एक प्लेटफॉर्म बना रहता है रास्ते के बाजू में, ताकि लोग एक दूसरे से बात कर पाए. अब इसकी शुरुआत अगर खुदाई में देखोगे ना, एक एरो मार्क मैंने किया है. ये एक मकान का वॉल है, ये मकान का वॉल है, बीच का रोड है. यहाँ पे डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ डिपॉजिट है दैट सजेस्ट सम काइंड ऑफ प्लेटफॉर्म देयर. तो गुजरात का जो ट्रेडिशन है कि बाहर बैठ के चर्चा करना, बातें करना, दिस इज राइट फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट सेकंड सेंचुरी CE onward till continue this tradition in Gujarat. Next please. Then the present lane, when we excavated beneath the present lane, we see that lane continue up to 13, 14 या 15th century CE. Then उसके नीचे कंप्लीटली चेंज. अब रोड बनाने के लिए आज हम लोग टार यूज करते हैं, पत्थर यूज करते हैं. उस समय ब्रिक उन्होंने यूज किया रोड बनाने के लिए भी. देखिए पैटर्न क्या है, ब्रिक ऑन एज का पैटर्न है, देन पेव ब्रिक्स है. तो उन्होंने उस तरीके अरेंजमेंट भी किया है रोड बनाने के लिए. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. Then again along when we excavate beneath the lane road, we can see the different kind of structures here. Next. Then outside the fortification, along the water bodies, what kind of structures we are coming up? We are coming up the structure belonging to related to the religious structures. So here along the Sarmishta Lake, we found some platform, temple remains, some chambers there. Next please. Then Disha Suchak Yantra, where north we can find here. Next. Now in Vadnagar, even present also, along within the fortification, along the periphery, outside the fortification we find religious structures. Now in excavation also, we are getting religious structures along the water bodies, along the periphery of the fortification. Now one of the finding is here now. And one more thing. Now this is the structure we identified, partially exposed actually. We identified the stupa along the Sarmishta, but within the fortification, when that northern portion wasn't exit that time. It was built that time. But see, after abandonment of this structure, there is no structural activity. And जो भी structural activity है, उसके बाजू में है. They were respecting. And जो successors है, उनको पता है कि predecessors ने यहाँ पे क्या activity किया है. So this kind of harmony we can see here in the structure. This structure identified as stupa based on offering ceiling. 34 ceiling we have reported there from within the stupa and mentioning Namah Sarvagya. अगर देवनी मोरी के रिलीफ कैस्केट की अगर आप बात करें, उसकी जो शुरुआत है वो भी नमः सर्वज्ञ से होती है. तो based on the location and offering ceiling and this shape, next please, we have identified this structure as a stupa, and now we can correlate. Now this is the stupa from Amreli. So it's similar one finding. This is stone, that is a brick stupa. Next please. Then Kotha Ambaji Lake near the railway station. Next. Here very interesting structure reported is a elliptical structure. यानी ये inner भाग है, elliptical या outer है. Now this kind of elliptical structure are very rare phenomena. We are earlier it got reported from Besnagar, Shravasti, Rajagriha and Nagarjuni Hill in Bihar, जहाँ पे अशोक के बाद आजीवक पंथों के लिए दशरथ ने जो गुफाएं बनाई थी उसमें से एक गुफा गोपिका वो इसी तरह के एलिप्टिकल फॉर्म में बनी हुई है. तो देयर आर वेरी फ्यू सच काइंड ऑफ एविडेंसेस इन एलिप्टिकल फॉर्म. So is reported from Vadnagar, and along with the elliptical there are two different stupas from the different levels. The earlier level we are getting that blue one, circular stupa, and that top one is a square stupa. Next please. These are some path of the elliptical structure. Next please. This would be the probable what you say एक कंजक्चरल की एलिप्टिकल स्ट्रक्चर का एक फसाद एलिवेशन में किस तरह से दिखाई देगा हमें. एंड फ्रंट में ये नॉर्दर्न एक पोर्च होता है जिसमें इस तरह का एक ओपनिंग होगा. ऑल दीज थिंग्स रिपोर्टेड फ्रॉम वडनगर. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. Now I was talking about the square stupa. So now you can see the square stupa how it looked. And most important thing from this area after abandonment of this site, because here archaeological remains reported from 1st century CE onward, continued till 7th-8th century CE. After that this site got abandoned and used as a burial place, but not for commoner, only for special people. And from that one of the grid, now we have found this one skeleton in yogic posture, but ये तपस्या में बैठा हुआ साधु. तो ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एक फाइंडिंग यहां से हमें आया है. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. When the Buddhism abandoned from Vadnagar around 7th-8th century CE, the site, the new center of Buddhism emerged in Taranga. Taranga is located around 28 kilometer from Vadnagar, where we have found evidences. Next please. Now in this contour we can see these are the three hills, Jogida, Samasiddha or Dhagolia. Within the 2 by 2 kilometer we have reported around rock shelters. Those have been modified into for the dwelling places for the monks. Then votive stupas, around 42 votive stupas, and retaining wall या retaining या platform कह सकते हैं. Now there are so many what is in Uttarakhand, जैसे फ्लड हुआ, एक क्या बोलते हैं हिल गिर गया जो कोलैप्स होता है. But here what they did, people they started making retaining the things towards the slope to create horizontal place. And लैंडस्लाइड नहीं होगा उससे. If you give the retaining, तो you will never find any landslide there. तो ये उन्होंने यहाँ पे अपनाया है स्लोपिंग पे, ताकि हॉरिजॉन्टल एरिया को क्रिएट कर पाए. नेक्स्ट प्लीज. Now these are some evidences from Taranga. This one is about the retaining, that what I was talking about, the retaining platform, this one. Then one of the peak of the hill, that is Dhagolia, there is a stupa evidence. We have made some conjectural. Then again some votive stupas within the structure. Next please. Now one of the platform having the 20 votive stupas from the Taranga, then one of the seal having the stupas there, and then modified rock shelters. Next please. Then we have taken up so many scientific studies also. It is very important to find what kind of climate was there that time. With the IIT Kharagpur, we have taken up the climatic study. We completed. We have identified the dry and wet phases there. Even archaeobotany data talks about their food habits. Now it's very, very important that after 13th century CE, they have changed their entire agriculture. They were earlier, they were a large, जैसे कहते गेहूं है, चावल है, so many things. But after 13th century CE, you will find millet-based agriculture. So they were so resilient कि जैसे aridity या arid phase शुरू हुआ है, they change entire their agriculture. This is well studied with the BSIP and Deccan College Pune with the Department of Botany, MS University Baroda. Then seismological studies also have been taken up. Then DNA study also have been completed. We'll talk about DNA next, please. Uske pehle. Now there are some skeletons reported from Vadnagar. Now the number one is from the Kshatrapa level. That genetically shows it's a local, belong to the local. Second, the sadhu, that is the yogic posture, the skeleton, that is again shows about the Gujarat and Rajasthan, that that current population that genetically affiliated. Then within the stupa, we have found the bone relic that shows that monk came from Gangetic area, Gangetic region. Even अगर आप बड़ौदा म्यूजियम में जो 21 मिनिएचर पेंटिंग्स है तांत्रिज्म से अपना इनके रखे तारा देवी और उनका, उसमें 3 पेंटिंग में हमारे गुजरात की 3 जगह की बात करते हैं पाला के समय में 10-11 सेंचुरी में अबाउट तारंगा लाट प्रदेश. तो आई थिंक तारा की जो बात कर रहे हैं वो इस जगह की बात कर रहे हैं जो तांत्रिज्म बुद्धिज्म में जो आया है, दैट हैव कम फ्रॉम द ईस्ट टुवर्ड्स द वेस्ट, दैट इज एस्टेब्लिश हियर. And the extended skeleton, whatever we have found here from the Sultanate Mughal era, that showed the mixture population. Next, please. Then reasons. I was talking about the uninterrupted occupation or continuity. There are hardly any sites in India that claim the continuous occupation, like Indraprasth, that is Purana Kila. Then Rajghat, that is Banaras. Then Ujjain, we are not sure about the Ujjain. Then Patliputra also. So there are very few, Madurai and one more sites in the South India. So they are having the continuity right from 5th century, 6th century BC till present. So Vadnagar also having the continuity. Why there is a continuity? What is the reason behind that? When after Gupta era, if you see in Indian scenario, so many sites getting abandoned. जो बड़े-बड़े शहर है वो गांव में तब्दील हो रहे हैं. There are so many land grants. सारे लोग स्प्लिट होके गांव की तरफ जा रहे हैं. बड़े-बड़े शहर उद्ध्वस्त हो रहे हैं. जितने भी ग्रंथ है या जितने भी ट्रैवल रिकॉर्ड है कहीं भी देख लीजिए, they are talking about the what is say about the splitting of the town या abandonment of the town. But these people could continue against the aridity because 6th to 10th century and 9th century they are identified as a that time the extreme aridity. आप देवी महात्म्य पढ़िए, वहां में 100 साल के वो ड्रॉट की बात करेगा. इवन आप दशकुमार चरित्र, यानी so many things they are talk about the droughts. So how these people could survive? Next, please. This was the reason. Water bodies, artificial. Because Gujarat, where now see Dholavira, there are so many rock cut water bodies are there. Sudarshan Lake, हमारा गिरनार, वहां पे देखिए उन्हें पूरे नदी में सुवर्ण सिकता पलाशनी में डैम बना के पूरा उन्होंने सरोवर बनाया. राइट फ्रॉम चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य, अशोका, देन रुद्रदामा, देन गुप्ता. तो वी वर अवेयर, एंड अगर एज अ फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्स टू दी हॉट क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन वी नीड वाटर एंड वी डू नॉट हैव मच मानसून एंड दैट वन हेवी मानसून. So they have created such kind of arrangement of the water bodies. If you see here, this is the one seasonal channel that comes from Banaganga or Taranga foothills. That seasonal channel filled 24 water bodies. तो पहला जो ये जो चैनल आ रहा है, पहले ये फील करेगा सर्विस्टा को वाया नागधारा, और वहां पे ये फील करने से पहले यहाँ पे जो डाइवर्ट हो रहा है वहां पे एक बंद बनाया गया है. वो बंद को बंद करने के बाद पानी पूरा इसमें जाएगा इस शर्मिष्ठा में. देन अगर उस समय पानी का फोर्स अच्छा है, वो पानी रिटर्न जाते समय जो दूसरे वाटर बॉडीज है 2 और 3 नंबर भाटीटी तालाब एंड वन मोर विश्वामित्री तालाब, उसको भी फील करेगा. अगर वाटर का लेवल कम है वो सीधा आड़ाबन जाएगा. आड़ाबन से एक इतने सारे वाटर बॉडीज को फील करते हुए वो रूपेन नदी में जाके मर्ज होगा. देन वन मोर चैनल कमिंग फ्रॉम चंपा एंड देन सुलीपुर एंड मुलीपुर. तो 12 वाटर बॉडीज को यानी एक 3 बाय 3 किलोमीटर के एरिया में अराउंड 36 वाटर बॉडीज स्टिल एक्टिव. और ये वाटर बॉडीज का जो चैनल है ये भी अभी एक्टिव है बारिश के सीजन में. अगर इस वाटर बॉडीज को अगर स्टडी करना है तो हमें कम से कम बारिश के लिए इंतजार करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि वो तभी एक्टिव हो गए. एंड अगर एक बार एक तालाब भर जाते हैं, और यहाँ पे चेक डैम भी बने हुए हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि जस्ट पानी स्टोर किया, चेक डैम बने, वाटर लेवल को मेंटेन उन लोगों ने किया है, और ये सारे एक दूसरे से कनेक्टेड है, एक फील होगा, दूसरा फील होगा, तीसरा फील होगा, एंड दे विल हैव इनफ वाटर. And this happened, I am saying this one before the Solanki era. When the climatic again change start, right from we can say 13th century CE, there is a series of famine. Durga Devi का दुष्काल बोली है, या even Deccan famine कहिए, Bengal famine कहिए. There are so many series of famine, and Mehsana district and Patan, you will get so many records of series of famine, right from 13th century CE onward till 19th century. Even Chimnabai Sarovar is very famous in Mehsana district. You see that built by Gaikwad, this family in 19th century. When 1899 there was a famine. So there is series of famines there. So now water bodies में पानी कमी है, तो क्या है, but ground water bodies यानी ground में तो पानी है, तो they build step well first. जब step well से कुछ नहीं हुआ है, then within the water body, around the water bodies, they dug up the well, जो अभी भी एक्टिव है. तो दिस वाज द अरेंजमेंट. बिकॉज ऑफ दिस रिसिलियंस या व्हाट इज वाटर कंजर्वेशन मेथड, दे कुड सस्टेन देयर लार्ज पॉपुलेशन, एंड दे कुड सस्टेन देयर व्हाट इज वी से एज देयर 1723 तक we can say that right from period first till 1723 they could sustain their prosperity with this kind of shell manufacturing and even agriculture, then cattle keeping, so many things. Oh, time over. Next please. How many times? 5 minutes? Now I was talking about the shell manufacturing. How to identify shell manufacturing center? We must need a manufacturing waste there. So many manufacturing waste we are getting from Vadnagar. Again, here Gujarati mentality we can see how it work. Next please. Now manufacturing waste होता है, उसको हम लोग फेंक देते हैं. But what these people are doing? These all are waste. This one columella, या this apex. They are reusing for bead बनाने के लिए और किसी चीज के लिए. तो ज्यादा से ज्यादा मुनाफा होगा उससे. तो these are the, you can see the collection here of the shell. This one shell manufacturing one, right from period 1 till Solanki era. After that it get replaced with glass and ivory. And we know ivory was very known during Shahjahan period. In Surat was the main center that time, getting from the Africa the ivory. This is the now. Then beads is very important. Next please. In the beads I was talking about, next please. Now these beads is very important because Vadnagar has identified is the Indo-Pacific beads. And Indo-Pacific beads इसलिए कहा जा रहा है till Japan to Africa, that entire area called as the Indo-Pacific. From this entire area we are getting this kind of beads and produced in India, southern part of India and Sri Lanka. So many sites we are finding from that region actually this bead, Indo-Pacific. Basically ये Indian Ocean Exchange Network का एक बहुत बड़ा एक कह सकते हैं कि रिप्रेजेंट करता है इसे. तो दिस मैप शोज कि डिफरेंट पीरियड में किस तरह से ये डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन रहा है. तो इसमें सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है फर्स्ट सेंचुरी सीई के बाद ईस्टर्न कोस्ट ऑफ अफ्रीका में साइट में ये इंडो पैसिफिक बीड्स मिल रहा है. नाउ वी कैन कोरिलेट विद दिस सोकोत्रा नाउ, बिकॉज अगर ईस्टर्न कोस्ट ऑफ अफ्रीका जाना है गुजराती सेलर को तो ये आइलैंड को क्रॉस करके जाना है. दिस इज अ हॉल्टिंग स्टेशन. Within this there is a hawk cave where 200 inscriptions and graffiti are there. The mentioning about the Gujarati sailors only, and out of 224 graffiti, 200 belong to the Gujarati sailors only, Gujarati merchant. So this finding is very important. And then one new एक कल्ट शुरू हुआ है समुंदर में जाने से पहले, एक जो इसको पूजा करते हैं सिकोत्तर. तो that emerged that time. We can means because Sokotra and Sikottar, it's very similar terms. We do not know कि Sokotra से Sokotra से आया है. That is the study. Next please. Then so many beads, different material, 24 different materials we have identified, and in the beads also we try to see development and what kind of evolution we have studied also. Next please. Then glass is very important. Next please. And then pendants, this Triratna symbol is on the forehead, very significant one. Next please. Then coins, so many coin hoards we are getting here. Almost we have around 5,000 coins we have. And this is the coin hoard containing around 1,300 coins. Then Kori hoard. Next please. Gold coin of Mamlak Sultan gold coins from Vadnagar. Then next. And this is the site where experiential museum coming up. This is for excavation and that is for the museum building. Next please. And we plan, because we got 600 days to complete entire work within the 3,200 square meter area showing the 7 cultural period. We plan accordingly. During Corona also we try to continue our work and we could success within a 600 days to complete our excavation work. Next please. And this all our excavation grids. Next. And now the present one, because during the monsoon, it was necessary to protect from the rain also, because permanent shade is coming up. This left side is the museum building, almost in the last phase of the construction. Next. And now we are making the site is a experiential museum. So we simultaneously start the conservation strategy for that. So we follow adaptive reuse of the ancient material. Next please. Now these are the conditions earlier. Now we have used the ancient material only for as an adaptive reuse. Next. And now these are the conditions of our site. Next please. Next. Next. This is fortification before and after. Next. And shifting of some skeleton, especially this yogic posture wala skeleton for the museum display. Next. And during rain we find some difficulties, so we have to address these difficulties also. Next please. Now this is traditional method we are applying to address that damage. Next. This is the condition now. Next. And now the first settlers, I am talking about the 5th century BC. Now Amos date stretch these first settlers up to 750 BC, that is 2750 BP. From where they came, whether they were the descendant of Harappan or not. To confirm the downstream of the Rupin, we are going to excavate, because there are so many late Harappan sites are there. So we are going to study very soon that area. And next is Abhar. Oh, let's conclude. The next. Niche chalo na. To conclude, actually, I am to say that whatever the findings and results are coming up, we are going to incorporate in our experiential museum. Next. That is Abhar is there. Just try left karo usko. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the enlightening information. Now, I'd like to call our third speaker for the day, Dr. N.R. Shah, Professor, retired, Department of Museology, Faculty of Fine Arts, MS University of Baroda. He has worked for 8 years as the officiating head, Department of Museology, Faculty of Fine Arts, the MS University of Baroda, and has worked as the in-charge dean, Faculty of Fine Arts, for about 3 months. Sir, please.
Thank you. My fellow speakers, organizer Sri Nandan Bhai Sastri, invited guest, my dear students, and a very good presence of Director of Museums, Gujarat State, curators, and other IGNCA staff. Today's topic of my presentation is heritage preservation. Yes, a vital aspect of museum management. Here, I tried to show some photographs. Photographs are older one. It is not a present condition, but it is specially made for the students and researchers that have and up to what level we should work in a museum or in a monument. Because it is better not to work rather than doing damage to any heritage property. So, next, the definition आप एरो नीचे करते जाइए, एरो करते जाइए नीचे, एरो एरो करेंगे तो आएगा दूसरा। ये बहुत पीछे से लगा है, ये नशा आना चाहिए। हाँ ये आएगा। नेक्स्ट, ये यहाँ से ही आएगा ये। यहाँ से कर दिया मेरे कंप्यूटर में से ये एरो से चलता है इधर सेकंड का ले लेना सेकंड Sorry for interruption. Now, heritage is any attribute or immaterial possession that is inherited from ancestors. Things which are passed on from one generation to another generation. Next, इसको चला दे थोड़ा speedily. Cultural heritage is a legacy of physical artifacts and intangible attributes of a group or society that are inherited from the past generation and maintained in the present and bestowed for the benefit of the future generation. Cultural heritage includes tangible culture, intangible culture, and natural heritage. Next. Now, according to ICOM, 2022, museum definition has been, there is a little change in the definition of 2007. So it is described, but how to work in a museum, what are the activities of a museum and how do we cooperate, that is shown here. Next. Museums are reflecting repository of art, culture and civilization of a particular area or a state or a country. Museums are considered as an institution of lifelong learning and are considered as centers of non-formal education. It is easier to understand and learn through seeing or participating rather than reading. Next. You may be aware about the function of museum. Museum collects, documents, presents, educate, and preserve the heritage property, and also make research on different kind of objects and monuments. Next. To fulfill all these functions, museums needs management, good leader, trained staff, both technical and administrative, and finance. Next. History is one of the areas needs to be presented through museums, and it may be in the form of objects, person, place, state, country, building, architecture, or any intangible heritage. Next. History has its own importance because materialistic culture has lesser potential for long survival. History is reflected in a museum in various ways, showing tangible heritage, showing intangible heritage, showing history of a building, history of place, town, city, state, country, etc. Person called as a personalia museum. Next. Museums in Gujarat. Now, I have taken some examples from the museums of Gujarat. My intention is not that the museums of Gujarat are bad. Don't take it otherwise. My intention is to just tell students and other researchers that what we should not do. And how are we going to make a damage to museum objects or any other cultural property? So take it positively. My intention is not to criticize any museum, any archaeological department, any archaeological site or monuments, anything. So please, Gujarat possesses rich cultural heritage which attracted many people to visit this magnificent land and diversity of customs and rituals. There are about 90 museums in Gujarat, out of which 17 are government museums and a few other museums under the control of government of Gujarat is under the establishment. Next. Some of the museums like Museum and Picture Gallery, Vadodara, Darbar Hall Museum, Kutch Museum, Bhuj, Watson Museum, Rajkot are well reputed for their collection at international level. Next. Some of the private museums like LD Museum, Ahmedabad, Calico Museum, Ahmedabad, Shreyas Folk Museum, Ahmedabad, Sri Girdhar Bhai Children Museum, Amreli, and many more are famous for their collections and activities. Next. The curatorial aspects play an important role in museum management. Activeness of the curator makes the museum attractive and popular among the people. Curator is a key person in a museum to keep the museum active and alive. Next. Curator must have adequate know-how, awareness, effective supervision, periodical inspection, techniques of display, light arrangements, safety, security, and as a part of museum management. The curator is everything for museum. A curator cannot sit only in an office and just run the museum from morning to evening. In the present changing scenario in the world of information and technology, the value of information acts as an effective tool to make the museum interesting to see and to make it informative to educate and entertain all category of people, visitors. Next. In some of the museums, there is no staff
museums are left to the security people who are brought in the museum by outsourcing. This, one of the major diseases to the museums is outsourcing. I am not in favor of outsourcing. This is all political propaganda that outsourcing is it has a major role in rotting the museums. How such museums are going to fulfill the functions of a museum? Because the work of curator, no other person from the outside, with any other degree can give justice. Museums are not meant for just opening and closing. It has a functions which we have discussed earlier. You can see the picture of Baroda Museum, how beautiful is the museum building. The museum building itself attracts people, that what is to see inside the museum, how beautiful is the building. And we have to think about it, we have to preserve it, we have to preserve the object inside it. How you can see the sculpture garden outside the museum building in an open space. There are some loopholes. The sculptures are damaging because of many reasons. Next. But that we can take some steps and we can improve it. Next. You can see the mandapa in the museum and picture gallery, which has some problems of deterioration. And recently, the chemist of Baroda Museum, they have taken some actions. Some cleaning was already done, but it is need of the to give a special attention to such objects which are very, very important in a museum, which are key collection in a museum. Next. Now, this is not a present situation. Now, the curators are there in a museum and they are working very hard. They have improved this situation and now the labels are there. But the insect activity is seen and that should not happen. Curator has to be very sincere and active. They have a quality of observation in a museum, that what is going on inside the showcase, that is more important, because periodically they have to take a round within the gallery. Next. Now, see, this is a situation of the object, earlier restored by some other people, and it has turned into this condition. It requires chemical treatment again. So the expert opinion is required even today also. Next. Right person is required for right work. That is what I said earlier, that the work of conservator is not done by a curator. For a work of a curator is required. For conservation work, conservator is required. Like that, each and every post in a museum is important and specifically made for the purpose. Curator should not attend the conservation work. It is extremely necessary to consult conservator. Today's condition in government museum is such that among 17 museums, there is only one conservator. So it is a very serious problem that I think so there may be more than 2 lakhs objects, not 2 lakhs objects having several problems. So government should think into that problem and fill up the posts. Money, Egyptian money next. Now, I am saying that right person is required to do right work. Now, these are the earlier, couple of years back, it was happened that one curator has tried to clean dust and dirt around the showcase, inside the showcase, and used vacuum cleaner, and because of that some part of the money got detached. So it was a mistake. The senior chemist, conservator was there in a museum, he has to consult him. But before, जब किसी को बहुत उत्साहित हो जाते हैं तो ये ऐसा हो जाता है. तो they should not do like that, and they should see that we should consult the right person, take advice of 1%, 2%, 3%, then you adopt the work. Otherwise, the damage will be permanent and there will be no solution. Next. Sometimes, people are also doing damage to cultural property. So, they are not aware about it. Knowingly or unknowingly, they are damaging cultural property, either in a museum or in a monument. In a museum also, people used to write their names and everything on the object which are open. I have seen, because I was a conservator in a museum, and the people are writing a name with a stamped ink, by using finger, with this much of thickness, writing. So, how difficult it is to remove it, after doing that. So, there must be, there is a need to bring awareness among the people. Next. Now see the spitting habit of people, visitors. They spit or they put something on the object and cause staining to the sculptures. Cleaning is another part. The conservator will do cleaning, but when you use any chemical, it is going to harm the stone. It is better not to use any chemical. If you have a problem, then you have to use it. So, don't spoil it so that it can last for a long period. Next. Now this is a painting, belongs to Fateh Singh Museum. Now it was thrown, Ravi Verma painting. This is Ravi Verma painting, which this Ravi Verma painting, it has been thrown somewhere, and it has given me that you take it and take it for practice for the students. So I took it and take it to my department next and try to do restoration of this work next. And it is in this condition and displayed in the gallery at present. So this is happening when you don't get such kind of object on a record. After finding record in detail, they came to know that this is our painting. And that is also, I proposed that you take this is your painting. Then they have searched and felt that it is our, then they took it. Next. This is another Ravi Verma painting, belongs to private party. But this is, I want to show this because that in one bungalow, the servant was cleaning, there was some fungus on the painting and the servant was taken a stool, stand up on the stool, and he was rubbing with a bread, and suddenly he lost balance and the hand pushed into the canvas. So it was teared. So this is happening. You should not take this kind of a risk. Otherwise you are going to take damage. This is another problem, this white patches, that is another problem. But to tell servant to clean this, it is horrible. Next. Next, it is after treatment. Next. This is not a very good painting or an old painting, but somewhere in one house it was fixed on a wall and the painter came and taken a whitewash over it. So this is also, you have to be aware that what he is going to do, what he should not do. You should instruct. Next. Next. This is one more painting in the palace. Painting on a wooden panel and damaged severely because of negligence. No one has paid attention, and because of that, flaking has taken place, and that was also restored. Next. Next. Now this is another example of doing damage to the cultural property by the visitors. This is Tambekarwala wall painting, and the natural factors are damaging, but the rate of deterioration is very slow, but the rate of deterioration by visitors is very fast. Moreover, the method of treating these paintings for some problem, I have visited personally, and I found that some laborers are working on the painting to remove the coating of the things by taking a cotton swab, dipping in toluene and rubbing over the surface. So this is what the practice was undertaken by the Archaeological Survey of India. I think so it is better to involve museology student, archaeological student or history students. They will work rather better than the laborers, like laymen. So the majority damage is done by giving such kind of important work to laborers. Next. This is also the same wall paintings. Next. Next. Who will save this cultural heritage of the nation? We have to save, who? Because we are meant for it. We are there for, in a service to do this. Can't museums, ASI, Archaeology Department and Museology Department work together to save valuable cultural heritage? How we can improve this kind of a treatment or whatever is required. Next. Like we work in a museology department. I give some examples that we worked in collaboration with other museums to give training to the students. Every year we went to Amreli and do the whatever technical work is required with Amreli Museum, like Allahabad Museum also. We send students, we send staff, and they get their work done. The Padma Shri David Rubin Natural History Museum, we have done that. The Tapi collection, Suratban private collection, which was damaged by the flood water. Lot of work has been done by the students of museology department. We went to North Karnataka, Chitrapur, and now they have a museum, and we treated all kind of stone objects and metal objects and displayed there. Very nice. Next. This is an old photograph. Now it is improved, don't worry. But this is an old photograph. I want to show that why are we waiting for this condition, I think. A little is damaged. Why we cannot take up this work and finish it? Next. See, this lighting antenna was also removed by someone and taken away from that place. So, and we are seeing that every day we are going, some authority is going to visit this monument, but nobody has given it. And now it is fixed and it is in well condition. Next. Now this condition, we are waiting up to this extent. Why should we wait? Next. People have written their name also, you can see. Now who will conserve this, and when they are preserving time, what is going to happen? If we not take action in time, then what is the next? Some few examples of museum objects, like the coins. We dump the coins somewhere and we are not taking, or found from the excavation and dumped somewhere for a long time, it stuck together with one another and no problem. Because coin collectors are also believe that we should not treat it. I don't know why. But, if you don't treat it, you can't read it and you cannot identify it. Next. Yeah, after treating, you can read that what is it. Next. Now, so if you will not do like that, coin becomes like this. It will remain only metal, nothing else. Next. In a condition of high relative humidity, sticking of manuscript folios stuck with one another. Now, during my research visit also, I found that in Dharampur Museum, Lady Wilson Dharampur Museum, I have seen that one musical instrument gallery was heavily infected by fungus. I reported this because I was working in a museum itself at that time. I said that I have seen this thing, and I requested to director that you permit me, I will treat it, I will use the photograph for my research purpose, and I will get it everything clear. But the director wrote something to curator, and curator felt that it isn't, so he rubbed out everything with a cloth, and he said that there is nothing happened. So this should not take place. No, to grow fungus is a natural process. Sometime it takes place, but in time, as soon as we observe, we should remove it. There will be no damage. Next. So this should not be done by any person, any student, any curator. The manuscripts are stuck together. This is from Oriental Institute, and we have separated individual leaf and get it conserved. Next. This was we found from Morbi Natyakala Museum when Machu Dam was overflowed, and get lot of bundles of manuscript like that, and it was got separated individual leaves and it has been preserved. Next. This is an example of fungus always taking place, and as soon as we see, we removed it. Next. It was like this. Next. Conclusions are described, but one has to work. That is the thing, to remove work. Somewhere we can't reach, somewhere director can't reach, somewhere, it is all up to the secretary. Once he hear this lecture, this is not meant, this kind of a lecture should be arranged for the secretaries, rather than having organized for students and staff. First, they should be learned, and they know the working methodology, then and then they will understood. So this is with this I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With this, I request Ms. Maya Mumaya to continue the lecture forward with the question and answer session.
If there are online questions. Manali, are there some questions online? Hello?
Okay. So there are a couple of questions that I would like to address to the panelists. The first question is from Pranjali ji. Today when the National Museum is going down, what should be more important, museum as a building or museum as an institution?
Will you please repeat?
Any one of the panelists can take up.
Manali, will you please repeat?
Hello, ask again. Manali?
Sure. Today when the National Museum is going down, what should be more important, museum as a building or museum as an institution?
Museum, it is important in both ways. It is museum is also important, institution is also important, because the museum reflects the importance of institution.
Thank you, sir. So any of the other panelists want to add something to it?
Your question is like museum as a building it is important or museum as an institute it is important. For both the way it is important because first we are looking museum as an institution. But if building is with the heritage importance, the building is itself very important. So we will have to look both the ways. Okay, in both the ways it is important.
Absolutely, sir. Moving on to the next question. This one is from Ms. Shweta Handigol. How to preserve artifacts like rock paintings that cannot be brought to the museum but need in situ preservation? What role can museums play in that?
No, whatever I have shown you about the wall painting is, the reason of damage. I am not an expert to treat the wall paintings, but I can say that in a way they have treated, the method was wrong, because with a cotton swab when you are cleaning, lot of flakes of paint from the wall is coming out, and I have seen it. So I thought that this is the wrong method to clean it. How to clean it? I am not expert. There are many experts in India who are doing the wall painting conservation. So I am not the right person to reply it.
Can we move to the next question? Next.
Sir, actually there were only 2 questions among the participants of the online mode. There is one suggestion here in the chat box of the YouTube Live by Simran ji. She mentions that there is a need to create awareness among the visitors who visit these cultural places and heritage sites. Spitting on the walls or scribbling names, etc. Is very uncultured and it should be stopped. That is what she has written.
Okay, it's all right. Next, is there any other comment?
No, sir, there are no questions.
So now on site we are inviting questions from the audience and there are many museum professionals, so we expect at least 2 or 3 questions because our time is also running out. So we can take two questions, not more than 2 from the audience.
Thank you, sir.
I advise IGNC staff that you are going to organize one course on preventive conservation. I think so you keep watch on this, what preventive conservation is and what I told this, you learn many things if you learn preventive conservation.
This is with Professor Shah, sir. Sir, can we start volunteer museum friends, especially for Baroda Museum, as like so many persons like you, expertise, they are available in Baroda Museum. Nandan Shastri sir is there, you are there, and we have so much to do in our laboratory also. Recently, we have found so much collection in Vadnagar, especially like coins and other artifacts also, which is going to be displayed. And due to the lack of staff, as you have already mentioned, we are planning to conserve that. So if our senior conservator will prepare a plan to start such kind of voluntarily program, so can we start such kind of, and whatever things are there, if you can direct our senior curator in the matter.
Before Dr. Shah answers, let me tell you, sir, that in previous week I had meeting with Professor Srivastav, Vice Chancellor of MS University, and so far as geology collection in Baroda Museum is concerned, in the meeting, head of Postgraduate Department of Geology, Professor Atul Joshi was also present. So they have very good laboratory facility. So even to identify some of the specimens of Robert Gross foot, we can analyze them by non-destructive method in Faculty of Science Department of Geology. So volunteers are always available in United States also. I have done volunteer work for 16 years, and we can raise a band of volunteers for Baroda Museum too. At least 10 volunteers I can promise. Please, Dr. Shah.
I have offered my services to Museum and Picture Gallery Baroda because it was my parent institution. I also offered my service to Museology Department because I retired from there. I offered my services without any expectation, without any remuneration. As and when they require, they can call me, but they are not calling me.
Yeah.
My question is to Dr. Abhijit, and very interesting, very elaborate presentation, and we had so many information which we did not have earlier. So please tell us, what is the concept of this experiential museum?
Ma'am, experiential museum, actually we want to take visitors to the very close to the excavation remains. We are taking them into the deep trenches. It was thought earlier, but after observing the fragileness of our section, especially section, it found very difficult to take the visitor very close to the excavated remains now. But in certain pockets, we have decided to take tourists very close to the excavation area, and whatever findings are there, results are there, we are going to display showcase adjacent to the excavation site only. So that was the feel and touch actually experience we want to make there. But we are coming out with some new ideas now. So those are the deep trenches. There we are going to use some new kind of technology, digital, where we can have a look on the screen what kind of the findings are there. So, but for researchers, definitely we are going to give access within the excavated area, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
Madam, in continuation, I just also would like to inform you, like when we are planning the museum, so due to the condition of the site, we are unable to take down the visitors to the up to the like जो 7 कल्चरल पीरियड हम लोग दिखाना चाह रहे हैं, बट उसमें हम लोगों ने क्या किया है कि जैसे ही एंटर जब विजिटर करता है तो वहाँ पे लिफ्ट और इस तरह का एक रोटंडा प्लान किया है कि वाइल यू आर गोइंग अप, तो इसमें हम लोग 3rd फ्लोर से वी आर स्टार्टिंग जर्नी। तो उसमें जब आप नीचे से ऊपर जा रहे हैं तो 7 कल्चरल पीरियड पूरा डिटेल आप लिफ्ट में ही पूरा देखते हुए जा रहे हैं, तो आपको इस तरह फील होगा कि आप उसी मतलब ट्रेंचेस से ही नीचे ऐसे ऊपर की तरफ आप जा रहे हैं। तो सच काइंड ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस वी आर गिविंग एंड वी आर ऑल्सो इन्वॉल्विंग लाइक विजिटर को इन्वॉल्व करने के काफ़ी कुछ प्लान हम लोगों ने क्यूरेशन में ऑलरेडी किया है। सो दैट इज वाई नेम इज गिवन एज ए आर्कियोलॉजिकल एक्सपीरियंशियल म्यूजियम।
Before we conclude Q&A, let me add only one point that National Maritime Museum in Lothal is coming, and museum professionals have to learn a lot from that project. It is a very ambitious project, and I am sure it will be proud of our nation. And now may I request the compere for the next.
Sir.
Okay, very quick. Question.
Not a question, but would like to respond to Professor Shah Saab that we haven't counted you as an outsider person. So there is no way we consider you as our family member, and we like to take your advices. And for your question of very well, I thank Professor Shah Saab that he has been raising this question and has shown his great concern to our department and not to our department, the full museum fraternity, that the staff recruitment is a very crucial question, and due to the efforts of your echo of your thing and efforts of our directors are present in the room, we are under recruitment process. Many of our staff has been is joining us. Few of we have just added with 3 or 4 superintending archaeologists presently. I handle some groups, so I have recently welcomed them. And you are most welcome, sir, anytime at our department, and we would we will think of
I am saying you are welcome. आप ही लोगों ने मेरी तबीयत खराब कर दी। आपकी वजह से मैं ये बेल्ट पहन के घूम रहा हूँ।
That is
I can not work, but I can advise you. अभी मुझे कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, अभी घर जाऊंगा तो तकलीफ होगी। तो ये तो काम करने का जादू कुछ ऐसा ही है। I am telling all these things for my selfness.
Yes.
So you are welcome.
Among other staff, I only may not be your student, but your zeal has always inspired us, and we look forward to some very good constructive work.
Now let us move to other items.
Okay. So now I'd like to call upon Dr. Pankaj Sharma for the presidential remark and to present the mementos. Dr. Pankaj Sharma is having 20 years of working experience in the field of museum. At present, he is working as the Directorate of Archaeology and Museums, Government of Gujarat, Gandhinagar, since December 2020. He has completed his PhD on a study of Karkhanas in Jaipur with special reference to its Imarat Khana, and from the University of Rajasthan, and has completed post-graduation in Museology and Conservation from the MS University of Vadodara in 2022. Sir.
Respected Shah sir, मेरे गुरु रह चुके हैं नंदन शास्त्री जी। when I was student, तो he used to come especially to take the lectures. अभिजीत जी my colleague, सुनंदा मैडम सर, बाकी सब कलीग मेरे साथ में काम करने वाले लोग फ्रेंड्स, आज जो तीनों लेक्चर हुए, इट इज रियली वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टू like listen all the lectures. Shiv Prasad ji, he started from the history of museums and he also talk about the new horizons. And सही बात है, आज जो हम कह रहे हैं न्यू हॉरिजन है, कल वो हो सकता है उसको हम बोले कि दिस इज द ट्रेडिशनल मेथड और दिस इज द ओल्ड मेथड. तो समय के साथ जब चीजें बदल रही है तो नई चीजों में भी परिवर्तन आ रहा है. पैंडेमिक ने काफी सारी चीजें हमें सिखाई, जैसे प्रसाद सर ने भी, शिव प्रसाद सर ने भी इन्फॉर्म किया कि टेक्नोलॉजी को सही मायने में किस तरह से यूज करना है, वो हम लोग पैंडेमिक से ही सीखे हैं. अगर अभी पैंडेमिक नहीं होता तो आज शायद हम लोग ये वर्चुअल कॉल नहीं कर रहे होते, हम सब लोग फिजिकल को लेके ही ज्यादा बातें कर रहे होते हैं. तो कई बार ठीक है, मुसीबतें आती है, परेशानी आती है, बट वो हमें काफी सारी नई चीजें सिखा के जाती है. सो दिस इज अगेन वी शुड कंसिडर एज ए न्यू हॉरिजन इन द मैनेज हेरिटेज एंड म्यूजियम्स. अब जब हम लोग म्यूजियम की बात कर रहे हैं तो शिव प्रसाद सर ने पॉलिसी मेकिंग की बात की, तो उस टाइम की डिमांड थी वो, तो उस डिमांड को जब हम कंटिन्यू उस इंस्टीट्यूशन की डिमांड के साथ हम उसको फुलफिल करते जाते तो कुछ टाइम के लिए वो एक तरह से न्यू हॉरिजन बनती जाती है. नेक्स्ट प्रेजेंटेशन अभिजीत जी का था. इट वाज रियली वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग प्रेजेंटेशन एंड वेरी क्लोजली वी आर वर्किंग फॉर दिस वडनगर आर्कियोलॉजिकल एक्सपीरियंशियल म्यूजियम, क्योंकि जब तक एक्सकेवेशन नहीं होगा तब तक हम लोग म्यूजियम नहीं बना पाएंगे. एंड वॉट एवर कलेक्शन वी आर फाइंडिंग ओवर देयर, इट इज गोइंग टू बी डिस्प्लेड इन द म्यूजियम. So as Abhijit ji already mentioned in his presentation, like they have found the 7 cultural period from the 2nd century BC to the Gaikwad time period. They have found the so many collections, and I think almost 45,000 objects they have found over there. Before that, in 1953, also like in Vadnagar excavation was done over there. Then in 2006 to 2014. Mr. Y.S. Rawat sir, former director of archaeology and museum, state government, he also undertook the excavation there and he found the Buddhist monastery over there. So Vadnagar is really very important town, and now the museum which are coming over there, जैसे अभी मैडम का क्वेश्चन था कि why we have given the name of the archaeological experiential museum. So this is again, if we are talking about the new horizons, तो दिस म्यूजियम इज गोइंग टू बी इन द हाइब्रिड मोड, जहां आपको ओरिजिनल कलेक्शन तो देखने को मिलेगा ही मिलेगा, बट टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज करके हाउ दे कैन एक्सपीरियंस द ओल्ड टाइम. सो सच काइंड ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस वी आर प्लानिंग टू गिव टू द इट्स विजिटर्स, एंड इट वुड बी द वन ऑफ इट्स काइंड म्यूजियम इन इंडिया. इस तरह का सबसे पहली चीज तो ये कि आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट जहां भी एक्सकेवेशन करते हैं उस एक्सकेवेशन को खुला नहीं छोड़ते हैं, अगेन उसको पूरे साइट को रिफिल कर देते हैं. बट दिस इज गोइंग टू बी दी फर्स्ट साइट जो कि 20 मीटर डीप में जाने के बाद भी जिसको पूरा कंप्लीटली ओपन छोड़ा जा रहा है. तो दिस इज अगेन लाइक वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग प्रोजेक्ट इज गोइंग टू बी देयर. उसके अलावा लाइक व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द न्यू हॉरिजन, तो एट दिस मोमेंट ऑल द अदर स्टेट्स ऑफ इंडिया दे आर लुकिंग एट द गुजरात स्टेट, because at the moment we are working for like 7-8 new projects where we are using the technologies. and पहले एक टाइम था कि म्यूजियम ठीक है 1 करोड़ 2 करोड़ रुपया म्यूजियम के लिए बहुत होता था, बट अभी जब हम लोग बात करते हैं हम लोग 80 करोड़ 90 करोड़ 100 करोड़ के नीचे म्यूजियम प्रोजेक्ट्स की हम लोग बात नहीं करते हैं, बिकॉज वी आर यूजिंग द न्यू टेक्नोलॉजीज. आज तक जो हम लोग फॉरेन कंट्रीज में देखते आए, वी आर प्लानिंग टू एग्जीक्यूट दोज थिंग्स इन स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात. अभी लाइक वडनगर म्यूजियम का रिसेंटली अभिजीत जी ये शोन यू दी सम ऑफ द स्लाइड्स. देन आफ्टर दैट वी आर वर्किंग ऑन द गुजरात वंदना म्यूजियम. सो इट इज गोइंग टू बी लाइक इन केवड़िया दिस म्यूजियम इज कमिंग. After that, another museum of Royal Kingdoms. Honorable Prime Minister already he has announced. We are working for that. We are meeting with the royal families, how they can contribute that for the. And it is very difficult to, like in a limited space, we cannot display each and everything without using the technology. तो जब हम लोग 562 प्रिंसली स्टेट की बात कर रहे हैं तो इंफॉर्मेशन, वॉट एवर इंफॉर्मेशन वी आर गोइंग टू गिव देम, वी आर यूजिंग द टेक्नोलॉजी to showcase each and everything in the museum. Then we are also working for the Dwarka Museum, where you can also see the Sakshat Vishwaroop Darshan. तो वी आर प्लानिंग ऑन दैट. एंड साक्षात विश्व रूप दर्शन अर्जुन को कब मिला? जब उन्होंने दिव्य दृष्टि दी. सो व्हेन यू आर विजिटिंग द द्वारका म्यूजियम, we are trying to provide you the Divya Drashti using the technology, so you can also have the Divya Vishwarup Darshan. So such kind of technology we are using. Then we are also working on the Museum of Music in Vadnagar. So many other projects are coming, and also we are using the technology to restore the monuments. In Shah Sir's presentation, Shah Sir ने काफी अच्छी चीजें बताई, काफी कुछ like डिटेल में बातें की. और एक चीज मैं बोलूंगा कि हम सबके बीच में क्रिटिसाइज करने वाले भी होने चाहिए. अगर क्रिटिसाइज नहीं होगा तो चीजों में सुधार नहीं आएगा. तो सर ने काफी सारी चीजें बता के एक सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सर ने चीज हमको बोला कि अगर हमको काम नहीं करना चाहिए अगर बिगाड़ने के लिए कर रहे हैं. सो दैट इज वेरी ट्रू. इफ यू डोंट नो कंजर्वेशन, डोंट टच एनी ऑब्जेक्ट. तो ये सब चीजें. देन कुछ स्लाइड्स भी सर ने दिखाई, तो मैं सर को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि दोज आर द ओल्ड स्लाइड, एंड नाउ यू विल अप्रिशिएट लाइक कंडीशन ऑफ द बड़ौदा म्यूजियम इज इम्प्रूविंग. एंड अभी जो हम लोग बात चल रही है स्टाफ की इनकी, तो एट द मोमेंट आउट ऑफ 15 क्यूरेटर्स 10 पोस्ट आर फिल्ड अप ऑफ द क्यूरेटर्स. असिस्टेंट क्यूरेटर का पोस्ट भी फिलअप हो चुका है. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ गुजरात लाइक टेकिंग इनिशिएटिव टू फिल अप द पोस्ट. और जो आउटसोर्स वाली बात है, दैट इज ओनली फॉर द क्लास 4 स्टाफ. जो पियोन है, पट्टा वाला है, उन लोगों को जनरली आउटसोर्स पे अभी रखा जा रहा है. बाकी क्लास 1, क्लास 2, क्लास 3 की पोस्ट अभी बहुत स्पीड से फिलअप हो रही है. एंड अभी ऐसा कोई भी म्यूजियम हमारा नहीं है जहां पे क्यूरेटर कोई नहीं हो. So all the museums, they have curators. In Baroda Museum we have 2 curators over there. They are working very nicely. Recently we have completed the light and sound show in Baroda Museum to attract the visitors at night also. And by next week on the application, like Baroda Museum app will also be ready. Today we have just seen like it is completed, but by next week we will launch it. देर घर बैठे आप लोग पूरा एक म्यूजियम विजिट कर सकते हैं मोबाइल ऐप के थ्रू. एक चीज और बताना चाहूंगा, लाइक व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द न्यू हॉरिजॉन्स in the field of heritage and museums. So during the pandemic time, we started museum at your doorstep. And हम लोगों ने कम से कम 1.5 लाख विजिटर्स को टारगेट किया था ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड. डेली हम लोगों का वर्चुअल टूर होता था, अलग अलग म्यूजियम्स का, अलग अलग गैलरीज का. एंड जो स्टेटिस्टिक्स वी हैव स्टडीड, तो कम से कम 1.5 लाख लोगों ने उस पूरे शोज को हमारा देखा. इवन स्टिल वी हैव द म्यूजियम्स ऑफ गुजरात फेसबुक पेज वेयर वी हैव सो मेनी वीडियोज ऑफ द म्यूजियम्स ऑफ गुजरात. तो स्टिल पीपल दे आर गोइंग थ्रू इट, दे आर कमेंटिंग ऑन इट. सो वी आर वर्किंग इन द डायरेक्शन, वी आर यूजिंग द न्यू टेक्नोलॉजीज. And this is all. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Nandan sir, for inviting us. Thank you so much.
On behalf of IGNCA Regional Director, Ms. Arupa Lahiri, I would like to thank one and all for attending the talk. My acknowledgement is for all the illustrious speakers for the day and our chief guest, Directorate of Archaeology and Museums, Dr. Pankaj Kumar Sharma. Thank you, Dr. Abhijit Ambekar, Excavation Director, Vadnagar, for agreeing to be a part of the workshop. I would also like to thank the Museovision team, especially Dr. Nandan Shastriji and Dr. N. Shah. I would also like to thank my team members, especially Roshan Ranjit, for the arrangements that he made for this seminar, and that made the seminar a success. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, for presenting the mementos, I would like to invite Dr. Pankaj sir. So, Nandan Shastri ji, sir, please. Yeah. Pankaj sir. Abhijit sir. That was a mess. Who is this?
speaker is online, so you'll have to give it to. So, on behalf of. This is for Sir, you can.
Please receive it. Sir. Okay. Thank you. I request everyone to join us for tea.
Everyone, give me 2 minutes, not 2 minutes. Basically, we are starting conservation course from 14th. So, if you are interested, please join us. The website, everything.